The college basketball experience Villanova Wildcats 2022-23 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks presented by WynnBET. Bet $100 at WynnBET and get a $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store. Use the promo code NFCBeast for 15% off. Active until the Eagles or Giants lose their next game. And let me tell you, they have some great campus edition college basketball and college football t-shirts, so check that out. And make sure to enter our World Series prop contest. Winner gets $200 cash and a $200 gift card to the SGPN merch store. Enter today exclusively in the SGPN app, which is free to download, so grab that thing today and let it ride.
What's up, everybody? This is Cameron Krog from Loyola Chicago Ramblers, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride. Shout out to the Broad Stop. Thank you, guys.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college basketball experience. Villanova Wildcats 2022-23 season preview episode. My name is Kobe Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
Well, talk about an interesting team. Oh, the Wildcats entering a new era. I'm excited to talk about it, but I'm excited to have this next guy on the show. If you've subscribed to the SGPN family, you would know because he hosts the NFL Gambling Podcast. He hosts the MLB Gambling Podcast. He's one of the hosts on all of those. So, and I'm very eager to have him on this show because he wrote college basketball for us last year. He knows the sport as well as any. Give it up for my guy, Dylan Rockford. How you doing, Dylan?
Hey, I'm doing well, Kobe. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me on. Yes, I think it's first one we've done together, hopefully one of many.
Yes, exactly. I think you're going to, folks will be hearing him a lot on the college basketball experience feed throughout the year or years, shall I say. And look, I mean, what a great way to start off because we have a blue blood. Do you consider Villanova a blue blood? That's always a great question, I feel like.
Always a great question. I argue for it that it is because what kind of a program where technically it's not a regular blue blood, but they're always in the Final Four, always in the Elite Eight, but new leaf now, Kyle Neptune, no more Wright. I am very eager to see what this Wildcat team does this year.
Yeah, and Neptune is an exciting hire. He was, he played at Lehigh. And Wright, I just wonder. I know he just got a TV deal.
Yeah.
Look, shout out to him. I think a lot of the old school coaches we saw, whether it was Coach K or whether it was Roy Williams or even Bob McKillop at Davidson, they see this transfer portal. They see this, the NIL era, and I think they're just like, man, fuck this. Let me get out of here. I've been covering college football. I know I've talked to a few coaches that were like, man, I got to text my position coaches every week and have them text their players to make sure they're not leaving. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why Wright said, let me go to TV and cash in a check, but either way, I think it's an interesting hire because we have a very small sample size. Yeah. You look at Kyle Neptune. Yes, he was familiar with the program. He was an assistant for 18 years with Wright at Villanova. So, and like Lehigh, if folks don't know, if you're just listening, Lehigh's not far away from Villanova. So 1 year at Fordham, 16-16, but that was like the best year at Fordham in like 6 years. So
yeah.
If you're a Villanova fan, what do you think? Do you wish you would have brought in a sexier name, or are you happy? Are you content with Kyle Neptune as your future?
I'm actually very happy. I think he knows the program really well. And I think defensively, like Villanova had a very down year defensively last year. In terms of points allowed on a per possession basis, they ranked 79th. That's not very ideal for a Jay Wright team. You got to imagine they're going to be better rebounding the ball. But with Kyle Neptune, like you said, he's going to transform this team a little bit. Fordham was a bad program, but last year they ranked 41st in the country in points allowed on a per possession basis. You got to give credit where credit's due. He took a bad program and turned them into a decent team that played good defense. And I think there's some upside here with Kyle Neptune.
Yeah. I mean, I was texting my brother, NC Nick, who does a show with us throughout the season last year, saying, hey, man, Fordham's like a covering machine. Early on, I felt like they were at least. Looking back at Nova's stats last year, though, 30-8 overall, 16-4 within the Big East in Jay Wright's final season, 20-16-2 ATS. So even if you like to gamble on them, hey, they were making you a little bit of cash. 9th in adjusted offense, 23rd in adjusted defense, 57% at shooting the three. Offensive rebounding 75th, defensive rebounding 215th. Maybe you circle that one. And free throw percentage, I mean, if memory serves me correct, so I know they finished first in the nation, and I want to say last season that they mentioned that they were the best free throw shooting team ever.
Yeah, I think they were one of the top 5 teams in Division I history of where they finished. I think they finished around 93%. Am I correct, or where did you find that?
Yeah. I think that was right around there, and that right there. You ever wonder in the tournament? I mean, I've watched so many teams that, I've had money on. I can tell you, I think of New Mexico State in the second round last year that missed so many big free throws in that Arkansas matchup that I thought, man, you make your free throws, you win that game. You're in a position to win that game. That's what Villanova has been doing under Jay Wright, and that's what's going to be very interesting. They always take good care of the rock, I feel like, and then great free throw shooting. They just don't hurt themselves, you know, like. And I think that's one of the things that it'll be interesting to see if that can transition over to Kyle Neptune. They were surprise 347th in pace.
Yeah, I actually got something on that. So Villanova is a super slow team, as anyone who watches college basketball knows. Out of the 358 D1 teams, Villanova ranked 344 in total possessions per game. So they're gonna make you play their game. They're not gonna force the ball. They're not gonna push the pace, and they're gonna make you play their game. They're gonna rebound. They're gonna play defense, and if they drive and you foul them, they will make their free throw. So I love it. I just want to know if they're gonna continue this ATS dominant, because they've been a covering machine since 2017-18 season. Villanova is the 5th most profitable team amongst all D1 schools, going 96, 69, and 5. Teams just couldn't compete with Villanova. I want to know, what do you think? Do you think that this will continue with Kyle Neptune?
I think probably so. I feel like it's like he was there for so long. I feel like, I wouldn't even be surprised if, like, Jay Wright got this thing into cruise control and his assistants were handling most of the work, and now he just fills those shoes and hires one of his own assistants and to fill his void when he was there, or maybe maintain what they had last year, and boom, the machine's going to be working again at the same level. I kind of think if I had to bet, I would bet on that.
Yeah, and you got to think Jay Wright's not going to leave to the coach with a bad situation. He's going to put him in a good situation. He's been around the team for 10 plus years. He knows what it's like to win a championship. He was there with 2016, 2018 season. So I think he knew what he was doing. He left a group, Collin Gillespie up there. He left Jeremiah Samuels. He left, but I think they got some, we'll get into it, but Villanova's not a team that will go in the transfer portal. They're going to get a bunch of guys that will stay 4 years and compete. And I love that. Call me old school and call me if I'm wrong, but if I'm wrong, I'll never be right.
No, they're one of defying the odds. Or like to me, covering college athletics, the transfer portal is such a big factor, and much. It's almost rare. It's like one out of every probably. I can only think of like a handful of teams that really don't get football and basketball, that do not really have transfers incoming or outgoing. And Villanova is one of them. And they're one that has not taken a real step back. Like some of them, I do believe like maybe they should update their ways. But with Villanova, you just went to the Final Four. It's clearly working. And that's another thing. If you look at the teams that were in the Final Four, they were all very experienced teams. Now, yes, they did benefit like on one transfer, like Brady Manick at Carolina or Remy Martin at Kansas. But I get your point, and I am an old school guy too, so I do appreciate the fact. It's like watching Tony Bennett's teams. You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy it, man. The slow pace, the program. Like we're gonna raise them within. There's a Wake Forest football coach calls it the incubator. I put my guys in the incubator, and then they come out and boom, in their third and fourth years, or nowadays in college with the COVID year, fifth and sixth years, they can get their opportunity to finally shine. So, looking at this team, I think one of the big things when we talk about what is lost that we should probably highlight first is Collin Gillespie was like the heart and soul of this team for a long time.
Yeah.
16 points a game, 4 boards, 3.2 assists. And to me, anytime you needed a big bucket, I can remember, I think, watching the Providence game. And Providence obviously won the Big East regular season, but they were at Nova in a critical game. And Providence went on like a 16-0 run to take the lead. And then boom, Gillespie. Boom, Gillespie. Boom, Gillespie. It's finding that guy is always a hard thing to do. And losing Collin Gillespie, I don't believe more so than maybe more so than any player in the nation. I think the team might feel the effects of that early on. Obviously, Jermaine Samuels was a beast as well, but replacing Gillespie, I think, is probably going to be the hardest thing to overcome this year, even harder than I think the transition from Wright to Neptune. What do you think? What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to replace. And, you know, we're Villanova. I keep saying we as like I'm a part of the team. I care so much that I think I am. But, you know, I think Villanova, especially for the point guard position, they're going to rely on a redshirt freshman Mark Armstrong. You got the guy, Angelo Brizzetti. I'm probably butchering his name, but he was a redshirt freshman last year. But I honestly think Jermaine Samuels was kind of the heart and soul of this team. Collin Gillespie was good, but you saw it when he went down and we played Kansas in the Final Four. We couldn't get anything going offensively. We couldn't clean up the board. Defensively, we struggled to make stops. I think Jermaine Samuels was probably the heart and soul of the team last year.
I mean, I think that's fair because he was such a tough guard. Yeah. His skill set was unbelievably challenging. I think for he was kind of like a jack of all trades. You know, when you look at that team from a season ago. Now, one of the things also we should highlight is Justin Moore tore his Achilles tendon in the NCAA tournament, and that is something I think anyone looking at this team must highlight because I think he is their best returning player. I mean, yes, Caleb Daniels is good, and Brandon Slater and Dixon are all experienced, but Justin Moore and I thought he was playing great in the tournament too.
He's a beast.
Yeah, but that's one of those injuries though that I feel like even if you come back. So obviously, I know Neptune said they're not rushing him back. He'll be back when he's healthy. But the Achilles is a weird injury where I feel like it could, even if you come back, you might not have the same pep in your step. You know what I mean?
Are you not confident he's going to be the same old Justin Moore that we're used to seeing?
I think he could be, but I just think there might be a little rust. I think maybe by the time you get to the Big East tournament, you might see the real Justin Moore. But if you're telling me, and we don't know this, we're just, spitballing here. If you're telling me he's back in January, I tend to think he might struggle in January.
Yeah, from all the reports that I'm reading, they're trying to ease him back in towards conference play, and that begins Wednesday, December 21st against St. John's at home. But I have a tough time imagining he would be ready to go late December. So even if they put him in after the January break at Georgetown, you think that's kind of an easy game. They didn't win a game all conference last year. That's hard to do. Yeah. But I think that's good. I think if he's ready by Big East tournament play, I think maybe we can be a dark horse, but I still worry about the chemistry because you got a lot of these young guys coming in, and how are they gonna play? And then when you plug in a guy like Justin Moore, you need time to develop these things with these players.
Of course. I mean, if anything, that's been the strength, I feel like, of Nova is their chemistry. And here, let alone from a coaching point of view, but also from a roster standpoint, they might be battling their, these guys probably haven't played that much together, especially when you consider the lack of experience, like we alluded to, the transfer portal. There's no one coming, no one going. This is a miracle. And as a guy that just talked Georgetown a couple days ago, when like 9 players transferred into the Hoyas,
I like what they did.
I do too. And I think that's a game we will definitely talk about here. But so Cam Whitmore, Mark Armstrong, and Brendan Hausen, or Hausen, I think it is.
I say Hausen, but it's whatever.
Those 3 are coming in. Yeah. I'm curious. I think Armstrong and Whitmore will be the guys to get really serious burn. I don't know about Hausen, how much minutes he'll get. Obviously, the more injury will impact all of this. But I want to project the starting 5 without more. So for early in the season. But before I do that, I want to get us paid. I want to tell you that the college basketball experience Villanova Wildcats 2022 season preview, 2022-23 season preview on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. Bet $100 at WynnBET and get a $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by, us on YouTube. Yes, the college football experience, the college basketball experience are together as one on YouTube at The College Experience. So youtube.com/The College Experience. And the Sports Gambling Podcast. Yes, the thing that started it all for all of us. Sports Gambling Podcast is giving you a chance to win your choice of either an autographed Lawrence Taylor jersey, which, since we're talking Nova fans, maybe there's a few Giant fans there, but also you have the option of Lawrence Taylor or former Philadelphia Eagles safety Brian Dawkins, which I imagine most will want to go for that. But the contest is completely free to enter, folks. Subscribe to youtube.com/sports gambling podcast. Comment on a video. Each video is a new chance to win. So you want to make sure you turn on your notifications so you don't miss SGP contacting you. So check that out. That's absolutely fantastic. Who wants a new jersey to rock? Signed? Come on. Not signed by us. All right. I'm talking signed by the player. All right. If it's signed by us, you couldn't give that fucking thing away. Anyway, look, you got to check it out. Subscribe to the Sports Gambling Podcast on YouTube. Subscribe to the College Basketball Experience on YouTube, because once the season starts, that's another thing I want to key in on. We're going to have multiple, podcasts coming out daily for you. So check out, you got to subscribe to the College Basketball Experience, because we cover every single game. We will talk every game. We've been doing this for over 5 years, folks. And we're going to talk. It's not just all, yes, it is gambling related. We're going to give it our best locks, because we love to, obviously we're part of the Sports Gambling Podcast. We love to gamble, but we're also just college basketball junkies. We might talk about, hey, the matchup we can't wait to see. Oh, I can't wait to see Justin Moore. He's back. How will Posh Alexander do guarding him? We're going to talk about all kind of stuff like that. And we think we can really give you a great, unlock some doors if you're trying to get into college basketball and show you the right way to watch college basketball. So check out the College Basketball Experience. And all right, we are back talking Villanova Wildcats basketball and projecting the starting 5 without Justin Moore. That is, it's kind of like pissing in the wind, because even on Nova, a team where you don't have all these transfers, I sit there and I go, okay, we know Caleb Daniels is going to start. Yeah. We know Brandon Slater's going to start at the forward spot. We know I'm pretty sure Eric Dixon's going to start.
Yeah.
After that is where you have fun.
Do you think, sorry to interrupt, do you think they're going to go 3 guards?
I could see that. I could really see that. I know they're talking maybe Cam Whitmore at the forward spot, because I know that he's highly touted, but when you look at some of the experience on this team, if it's not more, it's, and I always butcher his name, but his brother played for him, Arsen Diacono or whatever.
Oh, Arsen Diacono.
Yeah. I always butcher that, but his, he's a senior now. He got about 10 minutes a game a season ago, but I would not be surprised if Kyle Neptune, Villanova normally rewards the experienced players.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if he's found a way to get in there, but I would also not be surprised if Kyle Neptune says, hey, Mark Armstrong or Cam Whitmore, they're our most talented players with Justin Moore out. So maybe we ride with them. What do you think, small ball?
I think they're going to go 3 guards. I think, obviously, you alluded to, I think Brandon Slater, he's going to play the 4. He's actually coming back for his 5th year, and he was an important piece for the Wildcats last year. He averaged 8.5 points a game, and I think he could provide some damage download on the boards, like you alluded. We were like 200th in the country last year, defensive rebounding. So his defensive game is solid, and I think he'll be a critical piece on the defensive side. Eric Dixon, I like this guy. I think he could be the anchor for the Wildcats. He developed into the center last year. He averaged 9 points, 6 boards, and he's actually a good 3-point shooter. He shot 48% from 3, and I think if he takes that next step, he can be one of the best big men in the Big East. Now this is the tricky part. Obviously, Caleb Daniels, another 5th-year player, senior. He's a talented player. He averaged 10.3 points off the bench last season, but I think he's going to have a more important role this season with the injuries, like we said, to Justin Moore. He'll hopefully build off. He shot 37% last year from 3. Hopefully he gets it up to 40. But I think at point guard, they're going to start the freshman, Mark Armstrong, New Jersey native, a little biased there, but he's a solid scorer. He's a ball distributor, and he's worked on and he also works on the defensive side, which Villanova loves that. They love a guy that could play both sides of the ball. So I think he's going to play. And I like the other guard, Jordan Longingo.
Yeah, Longingo, yeah.
Yeah, butchering it. But I think he got hurt last year, but he's a talented shooter, especially from long range. He has a ton of talent. I think the upside is big, and he's only a sophomore too. So I think he can be a key part of this defense. But that guy, Angelo Brizzi, he's going to be another rotating point guard. So I think they're going to go young just because Mark Armstrong is the best guard that they have, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to watch, especially before Moore comes back, the ways that they get creative and use them. As I know right now, our internet just dropped in the background here, so I apologize if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, let's hop into the schedule and talk a little Wildcat basketball here and try to project the out-of-conference schedule. First off, the first 2 games, as a guy that loves regionality, I love it. All right, when you get a couple little brothers having a chance to knock off Big Brother, sign me up all day. They open up with LaSalle, and that game's on FS1 on November 7th. And this is an interesting game because Fran Dumfries, the new head coach of LaSalle, and he is a legend on the high school ranks. He was coached at Temple for a long time. Any chance the Explorers pull off the upset?
I don't think so. I'm very eager to see what the line comes out at because it's in Philly. They'll play at the Wells Fargo Arena. Do they still play there? I haven't been to a Villanova game in years.
No. I think they play at the Pavilion now.
Okay.
They might play a couple games at the Wells Fargo if memory serves me correct, but I think they get majority of them at the Pavilion now.
Yeah, at home, I think Villanova takes care of business. Just the experience. They might be a young team, LaSalle, but honestly, I think the next game at Temple could be a hiccup. It could be a hiccup spot.
Yeah, that's the one. And look, they're getting a little bit of hype, folks. Aaron McKee, and I felt like it was almost like the Patrick Ewing situation. I felt like last year Temple underachieved a little bit for me. I know they had injuries, but I thought it's going to be interesting. Are they going to get rid of one of their, Aaron McKee played at Temple back in the day. And you're seeing the long leash given with Georgetown and Ewing, and you're seeing it at Temple with McKee. And, the team is pretty talented. They're getting some preseason hype. So I do think this would be the one they could drop at Temple.
At Temple, yeah. That's a scary game. It's a definitely stay away from me, that game, because I could definitely see them on a Friday night going to Temple and losing that game. And honestly, then they could get right against Delaware State. No disrespect to Delaware State, but then you go on the road and you go up to East Lansing where, Tom Izzo's is going to have the boys prepared. So after that, then the Wildcats, they go out west. They're participating in the Phil Knight invitation. So they're going to match up with Iowa State in the first round. And then if they win, they could play the number 1 team, North Carolina.
And there's a shot that they could get UConn. Yeah. That's strange because a lot of times these preseason tournaments, you don't have the conference foe on the bracket. There is a shot that you could play UConn 4 times this year. All right.
That's crazy. And I like how the Big East, they play the other teams into the conference twice. You're not allowed to do that, do they anymore?
I mean, I think the Big 12 and the Big East are probably, and maybe the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 still does too. Okay. But you're right. I mean, as a kid growing up, I watched a ton of ACC and Big East basketball, and the ACC used to have that. They don't now, and I actually think it hurts them. Yes, they still protect Carolina, Duke, and make sure that happens twice. But the fact we don't get a UVA Duke twice some years, or a Carolina UVA or a Carolina Louisville twice, that hurts in my opinion, that hurts the league. I love out of conference games and everything, but at the same time, like nothing like developing a rivalry over years. If we knew every year that Louisville was going to have to go take on UNC twice, I think the rivalry gets a little bit better. And they're going to it's 20 conference games in the Big East this year. 20. That was not the same last year. So let me ask you this: how do you think they do in the Phil Invitational?
I think they're going to learn out quickly who they really are. To be honest, they're going to be tested by a lot of good teams in that tournament. I think they could lose to Iowa State in the first round.
I think so too.
Iowa State is a very talented team, especially defensively. Automatically you're going to hit the under on that game. Yeah. You got to.
And folks, just so you know, the Phil Knight Invitational, let me rattle off these teams. Portland, this is played in Portland, so they're giving some love to the mid-major there. The Portland Pilots are in this thing. North Carolina's in this thing. Iowa State, Villanova, UConn, Oregon, Alabama, and Michigan State. So theoretically, they could get Michigan State twice.
Yeah. And you got an Alabama team that will shoot you out of the gym.
Yeah, I mean, this is an awesome preseason tournament.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, this is going on right around. Most of these games are happening on Thanksgiving, folks. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I
think it also could be good for them. If they get all the cobwebs out early, out of conference, and then when in conference play starts, you kind of know what you have going forward with. And I think Kyle Neptune's going to do a good job tweaking the starting lineup. I don't think the first starting lineup he puts out against LaSalle is going to be the starting lineup that he puts up against Iowa State. I just don't think that.
So they get 3 games in the Phil Knight Invitational. Do you think like the Villanova fans should expect to be 2-1, or do you think what would be obviously? What would be brutal would be what 0-3.
0-3, yeah, not winning a game, going all the way out west to not even win a game. You gotta imagine Villanova wins one game.
I think they're gonna go 1-2 personally.
You think they beat Iowa State?
No, I think they probably beat Portland. They probably get the rebound game.
Portland's a hell of a cover too. Last year they were cover machines.
I think it's. Iowa State they could. Because Iowa State is a terrible. They have a completely different team this year than last year. But last year they were a terrible shooting team, but a great defensive team. Iowa State brings in a slew of transfers, a couple Bonnie's transfers coming into Ames. I'm going to say 1-2. I'm going to say 1-2 in the Phil Knight Invitational, which would then give us. I mean, how many losses would you have them after the Phil Knight Invitational? Essentially, throughout the whole season, 3 losses.
1, 2. I'm counting the losses right now. 3, 4, at least 5, 6. To be honest,
on the whole out of conference slate.
Yeah,
or because we should tell the folks they do host Oklahoma and Porter Moser on December 3rd.
Yeah, and I think they lose that game.
Yeah, that is a tricky game. I think they're going to be a lot better this year. Last year was,
it might be a revenge spot, or it might be a get right spot, especially if they do poorly in that invitation. They might come home and right the ship a little bit, because then they have some easier games, I would say, against UPenn. Boston College is on a neutral site. Then they're at St. Joe's, which they're all right. And I honestly think the middle and towards the end, like the last 4 games, you're at Xavier, home against Creighton, which I think Creighton could be a top 10 team this season. Then you're at Seton Hall, and then you finish at home against UConn. The Big East, they're no joke. I think the middle of the pack is very interesting, those teams.
Oh, I mean, yeah, let's look at that. Let's say coming into, what's the toughest 3-game stretch in the Big East like conference schedule, you think? Like where A, they could stack their resume, B, it's going to be like fans are going to sit there and say, honey, I can't miss these 3 games. Like, you know, these are games that, you know, could decide us winning the Big East, seeding in the Big East tournament, seeding in the NCAA tournament. Is there a 3-game stretch that you think is just a fucking gauntlet that fans will sit in there saying, okay, I can't wait to watch these 3, but I hope we can come out with a winning record. Is there one that just catches your eye?
I think starting February 11th, that Saturday against Seton Hall, that stretch is insane to me. You're home against Seton Hall, home against Butler, who have improved. Then you're at Providence, at Xavier, and then, like I said, then you're home against Creighton, Seton Hall. Normally Villanova has a tough schedule, but this is hard. I don't know, and we'll get into my power rankings a little later. That's why I don't have Villanova as high as I normally do. Their lack of depth, their schedule's hard, and I just don't know the uncertainty of Justin Moore, how he's going to come back.
Yeah, and you know, that is an interesting thing is when he will come back, because I do think my prediction probably rides on that.
Yeah.
If you're telling me he's healthy and playing good ball in January, well, hell, I can see them winning the Big East again. If he's playing the Justin Moore that we know. But I do agree also, though, that stretch, I see that stretch, and I'm high on Butler, man. Butler getting Thad Matta and all those transfers. I think that's another thing that's interesting. Matta. Yeah. And the floor is up in the Big East, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Shaka Smart comes into Marquette. He overachieved last year. We'll see if he can do it again this year, because I do think, you know, he's up against it a little bit. We talked about Patrick Ewing bringing in this great transfer class. Kevin Nickelberry coming in as assistant coach. Then I think Butler is way better this year. And I think Sean Miller coming into Xavier, and I even think Shaheen Holloway coming into Seton Hall, I think it pushes everything up a little bit. I don't know, man. I'm one that I kind of think Kyle Neptune's the perfect guy for the job. And I know everyone's talking Creighton. Everyone is talking Creighton. And rightfully,
can you blame them, though?
Yeah, rightfully so. But I'll say this: throughout my life, when Creighton's had the bullseye, now granted, they were in the Missouri Valley for a long time, but they've been a good program. But whenever they have the bullseye on them, I feel like they don't live up to it as much. They'll still be a good team and a tournament team, but I kind of trust Villanova, even with Kyle Neptune and even with Justin Moore's injury, more than I do Creighton. Now, UConn is an interesting one. Yeah. So I guess actually, hold on. Let me read one ad, and then we're going to project where we think we have Nova dropping in the Big East, where we think we have them going as far as, you know, the big dance. And I know you have a ranking system yourself that you would like to talk about. So, but let me tell you that the college basketball experience, Villanova Wildcats 2022-23 season previews, brought to you by No House Advantage. Yes, No House Advantage is changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. You can play in pick'em contests versus other people for a shot at winning $250K in cash. Whew. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, earn points for corrected picks, and climb up that leaderboard for your shot to win big money every day. You can also test your skills versus the house and win 20 times the amount of money you enter if you hit all your picks. You can bet on up to 5 different player prop over-unders or individual player matchups across every major sports league. That includes the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, even NASCAR. All right? Sign up now with the promo code SGPN at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app in the App Store to get a first deposit match up to $25. And also, make sure you check out No House Advantage today and experience daily fantasy sports redefined, because it's not just how you play, but where you play. You don't want to miss out on this. All right. Now, look, I am very intrigued. This is the first time on the show, and I know you've wrote some great stuff for us, but talk to me about this ranking system.
Yeah, so I just go based on what I saw last year, a little eye test, plug in the numbers, ATS, how they did on the road, how they did at home, who they brought in, who they lost, additions, just like that. And I just go and I rank the teams and see what I like, and I put it in my system, and they plug them out. So I'll start it off with 11, and it's not Georgetown, thankfully. It's going to be DePaul. I think they improved a little bit, but they play decent defense. They're just a little too inconsistent for my liking. So I don't think they're going to be a terrible team. And I just think that highly of the Big East. So I got
losing David Jones to St. John's was brutal because you lose within your own conference. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
No, it's good. 10, I do have Georgetown. You can't get worse than last year, not winning a game in conference play. Kadadius, how do you pronounce his last name? Wahab. Yeah. Getting him back really helps this team. Ryan Watabano, another guy, he has a lot of upside as well. He got baby last year. That's Mutombo's younger brother, right? Or someone?
Yeah. We have Mutombo's younger brother is on that roster. And definitely we want to send out best wishes to Dikembe Mutombo. I heard he had,
absolutely.
I think he's got a tumor, I believe, in him right now. So
speedy recovery there.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so Georgetown 10th. I'm assuming Marquette at 9th, but talk to me.
Yeah, Marquette at 9. I think they would I thought they would have been more aggressive in the transfer portal, but they're going to struggle down low. I think it's going to be a tough year for Marquette. So I have them at 9.
I think they were trying to be aggressive in the portal, but I don't think they were expecting Justin Lewis to leave. And then when he left, they were trying, I think, to get the kid from Boise State that ended up at Western Kentucky, but it didn't work out. So anyway, continue.
Yeah. 8, St. John's. I think the biggest question with this team is what we're going to get from Carbello and Posh Alexander. My biggest question is, can they coexist? Carbello, he's a turnover machine. And with Posh, he's very ball dominant, not much of a 3-point shooter. And I'm very curious to see if these other guys around them could get theirs and coexist. This team won't be shooting threes. I've never been too high on them. And I don't know if Carbello and Alexander will be a good fit. So that's why I got them kind of high at 8.
They're very intriguing, and I've always thought their problem the past couple of years was they have a lot of the same pieces.
Yeah,
like a lot, like even Montez Mathis is on that roster. You look and say, well, where does he fit in there? They have a lot of guys like that. So I get your point. Sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely. 7, I got Butler. I think this could be an NCAA tournament team, bringing in Chuck Harris, who can shoot the ball. They added depth on defense. And we talked about it, bringing in a coach like Thad Matta from Ohio State, who honestly did everything but lose there. I think he's going to get this team to the next level. This team's going to shoot threes. They play at a slow pace, Thad Matta kind of game. And I think they should be improved defensively. So I got Butler at 7.
Dude, they're my sleeper team. I think
I
could have them as high as, not to win the whole thing, but I'm saying I wouldn't be shocked if they finished 4th. I think it's going to be very close between 4th and 8th, maybe even 3rd and 8th. And I just like those pieces. If Manny Bates stays healthy, he's really good from NC State. And Thad Matta, I thought he never should have got fired at Ohio State. So
no, me either. That was a travesty. Whoever fired him should be fired. So at 6, I got Seton Hall. Kadary Richmond, he does it all for this team. So it will be interesting to see how he plays with the new guys they brought in, but going to be a very slow pace, just like last year. Played a lot of games toward the under. Out of their 31 games, Seton Hall last year, 21 of them went under the total. So this team will play hard on defense because Holloway, that's how we got St. Peter's all the way to the Elite 8 last year. So I think they could be a top 25 team toward the end of the year, but I still think they're a few years behind the top teams in the Big East. So I got Seton Hall at 6. At 5, I got Providence. I was very impressed with this team, what they did in the transfer portal. One guy I really like, Bryce Hopkins, a former top 75 recruit. He just couldn't really get burned at Kentucky. He's 6'6". He can really shoot the 3. He plays defense. I think it was a good find. I think that he does a little bit of everything, especially guarding the 3. Providence does really good guarding the 3. They were in the top 20 last season guarding the 3. So I think they'll do a better job cleaning up the glass. I think they have great size, and I think they'll be able to guard the 3 again. I think this Providence team could play anybody really tough. I like them.
I love Ed Cooley. Ed Cooley's a fantastic coach, but
how can you hate him?
Yeah, but I'll tell you, this is the thing that concerns me about Providence, and I might be wrong, but obviously Cooley's built a great home environment at the Dunk there, but they won a ton of close games last year. And to me, your margin of error, obviously with replacing a lot of those guys, can you find the right guys and be able to win those close games? Because I don't have the stats off the top of my head right here, but I want to say they were like something unbelievable, like 13-2 or something in games decided by 5 points or less. That always concerns me, much like it when we cover it on college football.
Yeah.
It always concerns me if you lose key pieces, can you duplicate that same success? Because normally, like we talked about with Villanova, a veteran team normally finds a way to win those close games. But yes, I still have them in that vicinity. Continue on.
And real quick before I continue, it reminded me of when I was listening to the West Virginia one. They were another team that lost a lot of close games too. So I agree. I think they're going to have to be able to right the ship and make some adjustments. But continuing here at 4, the biggest question mark for this team, I got Xavier at 4, is Zach Freemantle. He grew up about 10 minutes away from me, but a looming suspension for him. They brought back a lot of the same pieces from last year. And for what it's worth, I do like Sean Miller. We don't know if he's going to coach the whole season. I think maybe he gets 8-10 games, could be more, could be less. No future tickets for Xavier for me. I can't do it with all these suspensions looming. I can't do it. I think they're a very versatile team, but I think they still could improve. I like Xavier, but I think it's going to take some time. So I got them at 4. What do you think of Sean Miller there?
I mean, I thought it was a home run. I thought it makes a lot of sense. He almost, I know there were talk, he was in Columbia, South Carolina, having a dinner with their athletic director, but I thought he made the smarter decision at the time, and I think that's a veteran team. I like what he's done in the portal, but yes, obviously you don't want to get too content with them, even though I'm like you. I think if the suspension's light, and I think, walking into what he walks into, I think they can be one of the upper teams in the Big East. And it wouldn't shock me if they even went a little further.
Yeah.
It just, they have a great home court environment too.
100%. And 3, you'll be surprised, but I have Nova here at 3. I think the injury with Justin Moore is just something we need to know, because we all saw how he played when this team's healthy. They got him all the way down to the Final Four, but they just couldn't get anything going offensively. Defensively, he helped too. They just couldn't get stops. We'll see how the depth affects them too, because towards the back half of the last year, Villanova was only playing like 6 guys. So Cam Whitmore, he might be one of the program's biggest recruits. Hopefully he can live up to it, but he's a 6'6" kind of Mr. Do-It-All type of player. He could shoot the 3, pass it, create turnovers, play defense. And I like what I saw from Eric Dixon last year. Maybe he could take that next step. I think that the biggest loss, like I said, besides Jay Wright, was Jeremiah Samuels. I kind of felt like he was the heart and soul of this team. I think Caleb Daniels, he needs to take over kind of a leadership role, play well. And that's the reason I have Nova at 3, just because of the uncertainty with Justin Moore, the lack of depth. And now Jay Wright is gone. I think Kyle Neptune, he's going to do a good job. He had Fordham as a top 45 defensive team, and Fordham is horrible. So could be better later in the season. But as of right now, my third team, they're the third team in the Big East for me.
So who do you have winning it?
So 2 is UConn. They brought back a lot of players last year, and I think they were kind of active. This team has a bunch of depth, so that's not one thing I worry about UConn. They're very well coached, and they have one of the best backcourts in the country. So I got them at 2, and call me public, but I do have Creighton as one of the best teams, not just in the Big East, in the country. I think they could be a top 10 team there. They play at a very competitive conference, and I think they'll be better at shooting the 3. They were bottom 50 last year in terms of 3-point shooting, 30.8 collectively. They bring back literally everyone from last year. I don't think they'll play as fast as last season. Usually we see a lot of shooting from them. I think we'll see more moderate pace from this team. I think they'll be good down low, better everywhere than most teams. I think they're the best team in the Big East. And the odds indicated they're sitting as the favorite to win the Big East. So I got Creighton at 1.
Yeah, and they have that advantage of the strange road trip that's just way out there, Yeah. I know that's been talked about with Ed Cooley saying, where the hell is Creighton? So let's break this down, because right now I see odds out there that Villanova, I see plus 240 to win the Big East. So the book I'm looking at has them in second place. Is it a crazy wager, or, what if Justin Moore does come back and he just doesn't miss a beat? Would you advise Villanova fans to say maybe sprinkle a little bit of that 240?
I think it's a wait and see, because I think during the season, I think we're going to see a few hiccups, and I think you'll be able to get a better price with Villanova. I don't think they should be favored better than UConn. I think UConn has a better, more experienced backcourt. I think Villanova is going to have a tough time guarding their backcourt. I think an actual wager that I do like is UConn to win the Big East at plus 480. I see. I think UConn is a very sleeper team in the Big East.
Yeah, and I mean that would be a critical year. I mean, I don't want to say Hurley's on the hot seat. I'm just saying they've been disappointing first round exits the past couple of years. But
yeah,
the book I'm looking at has them with the same odds as Xavier, so something to keep in mind. Maybe more people are higher on Sean Miller than we realize. And the Musketeers. All right, well, folks, I have them.
Yeah, I want to know where you have Villanova in your rankings.
I'll be honest. Covering the other teams, I was sitting there saying, and I had heard there was a chance that he could be, by Christmas, and I was like, I think I was thinking it was an ACL and not Achilles. Achilles scares me a little bit more, and so I was saying Nova at 1 with it being an ACL, with it being Achilles. I am a little more nervous now to take them, but I'll tell you this: I do have Creighton 3rd. I think the target on their back. Look, I know at home they're really good at home, but I do think those trips. I just think the floor is higher, so I think the opportunities to lose now that's for everybody. But I'm going to go UConn then at the 1 spot right now based on that. But I'll say this: if Moore comes back and he plays at the level that he was playing at, I'll go Nova at 1, but that remains to be seen. So that's kind of a mystery. So until then, I'll go UConn 1. I got Nova 2. I got Creighton 3. And at 4, I go Xavier. 5, Butler, right there, kind of right neck and neck. Then after that, I go, what was my 6? My 6 was Seton Hall, right? And I really struggled with Seton Hall, St. John's, and Providence. I really struggled finding the pecking order of those 3. I do think they'll all be in that range right there. And here's another thing. I had Georgetown ahead of Marquette. I think Georgetown's going to be better than Marquette this year.
Yeah, I think so. They got to be better. Everybody they brought in. And, I kind of like I like the coach and how he admitted, hey, I got to do things differently. I got to bring in people that are going to help me win. His style of basketball wasn't winning over there. And he admitted to it, and he brought in guys that are going to help him. And I think that's going to speak volumes to how Georgetown, and I think they're going to be very competitive at home too.
Yeah, they need to get off to a hot start, though. I'll say that. Momentum is a thing here because I will say if they start out slow, I can see them pulling the plug on Ewing. The seat is that hot. And Nickelberry they brought in is an accomplished assistant coach that actually is, has some experience being a head coach. So interesting to watch that shake out. But my thing is Shaka Smart lost. I know that home court environment's good in Milwaukee, but they lost some key pieces. And they didn't, you're right. They did strike out in the transfer portal. They didn't bring in a lot. So I kind of think Marquette, even though I'll be honest, I looked like a fool last year on Marquette. I thought they were one of the worst teams coming into this season. I thought short of DePaul, I thought they were going to be in second to last place. Not the case. Shaka Smart coached them up, got them into the tournament. Unfortunately, they drew North Carolina in the first round, and they might have won a game. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of see eye to eye with everything, though, and it wouldn't shock me if I'm wrong about Creighton because I do look at them and see – I think Creighton is the most talented team. When you break that down, I am just banking it on the fact that traditionally for me, I feel like McDermott teams, when they do have the target, they don't play as good as when they don't. So I'm banking on that. And I also think when you are Villanova, when you are UConn, you see Creighton getting all the hype. I think it gives you a little bit of a competitive edge saying, man, everyone's taking this team. What about us? So that's my logic there. Either way, I cannot wait for Big East basketball. I cannot wait for the season to tip. And remember, like I said, folks, you're going to be hearing a lot of, every night we'll be here and it's going to be multiple shows. So check out the College Basketball Experience. Make sure you get on over to Twitter and give Dylan Rockford a follow at Rock. That's ROCKK again, then 24. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it now. Obviously, the guy's extremely knowledgeable when it comes to college hoops, and you're going to be hearing a lot of them. And like we said earlier, he wrote a lot of great articles last season talking college basketball. So get the SGPN app. But yeah, you're going to hear him a lot on the College Basketball Experience platform and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network platform. If you follow the MLB or NFL, he's not a stranger. So, folks, also check out us on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. And remember, subscribe on YouTube because you can watch this. And I'm on Twitter at DColbyD. Give me a follow as well. And check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. I mean, they're the thing that started it all. They cover all these sports. So check them out. And then obviously the MLB Gambling Podcast. Hey, the World Series is right around the corner.
Oh, who do you got?
I work with Sean here in the office. So he forces Philadelphia stuff in my face nonstop. So for that reason alone, and this is a Villanova preview. I'm not an idiot. Give me the Phillies.
Let's go. As a New Yorker, and it's we hate Philly fans. They're very obnoxious, just like New York fans, though. But yeah, how can you not bet the Phillies right now? They're the hottest team. Bryce Harper, he's finally into his fold. He's worth all the money that they're paying him, and I think they could hit with the Astros, to be honest.
And how does anyone feel good about betting on the Astros? You know what I mean?
They're cheaters.
Yeah, I hate the fact they're even in this series. All right.
Don't tell Moonoff that though.
Yes, but subscribe to the MLB Gambling Podcast because they do great work over there. And check out all the other platforms we got going. NBA Gambling Podcast, NFL Gambling Podcast, NHL. Those guys do a great job. Even the CFL, the Road to the Grey Cup. Check out the CFL Gambling Podcast. All right. And folks, get the SGPN app. It's free in the App Store and Google Play Store. And also come talk college hoops with us. Maybe you think I'm an idiot. How can I talk bad about Creighton? Hop in the Discord, call me an idiot. It'll be okay. Right? sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Check it out, folks. And I feel like November 7th is creeping up. It's getting closer and closer and closer. It's right around the corner, folks. All right, this is the Villanova Wildcats 2022-23 season preview. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.